Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome all viewers. So I was just sitting here browsing CNN.com, and I just wanted to share some thoughts about what's happening in the world, specifically what's happening in Palestine, what's being done to the Palestinian people, and how it's being framed by the media and by just individuals in this dunya, in this world. And there's so much to consider when it comes to the reality of this life, when it comes to the reality of the hereafter, truth and falsehood, justice and injustice, holding people accountable, rewarding those who deserve to be rewarded, punishing those who deserve to be punished. For example, just one thought that comes to mind has to do with the evil that just runs rampant in this world and how people are given the chance to make their own decisions, right? Because based on some of the comments that I see under videos of mine, people will say things like, why is Allah allowing something like this to happen? Well, Allah gives us the opportunity to make our own decisions as human beings. That's something that's special about being a human being, something that's unique about it. And with great power comes great responsibility. So the fact that we can choose to do the wrong thing or choose to do the right thing, it's actually meaningful. At the same time, we are also extremely limited, and we should humble ourselves because regardless of how we want things to be, it's not ultimately up to us. Perhaps we as humans would love to never suffer, never experience any hardship or pain. We just want to be given everything. We just want to go to paradise forever. But it's not up to us. What makes us think that we deserve to even be alive, let alone to go to paradise forever without being tested, without actually being confronted with good and evil and choosing good? And it's interesting how people also will act as if they are more merciful than the all-merciful, right? Like they're more compassionate than the all-compassionate. When, as we see, people, human beings, can be so incredibly and overwhelmingly unjust and harsh and evil and inflict pain and suffering and torture on fellow human beings unjustly. So when Allah tells us that people will be punished and it's just, it's justice. And when you consider He's the most merciful and still people are going to suffer and be punished, then that shows you how much they truly deserve it. And we ask that Allah save all of us. But I guess the point I'm getting at is people will question Allah and the hereafter and the hellfire. But at the same time, when they are shown in this world just how people deserve it, by letting them make their decisions and show how brutal and evil they can be, then people are also, they're upset by that. Why are these evil things allowed to persist? Well, why do people do them? Why do people do these evil things? That's the question. We're all going to be held accountable for ourselves. And this is the situation. Allah is all powerful, all knowing, all just, and He created this world, and we are His slaves at the end of the day. And that's how it is. And that's why in Islam, we submit to that, because that's the truth, that's the reality, and we submit to it. And that's the best thing that we can possibly do. That's the only way for us to actually be successful in both this life and the hereafter. And the way to not be successful, the way to go astray, is to contest that, is to be arrogant and not want to submit to Allah, not want to submit to the reality of this world and how things are. And this is why truth is so important. And being guided upon the truth is so important, because the reality is nobody really wants to say that they're being unjust or that they're being evil or that they're being wicked, right? I mean, unless you're just really out of your mind, astray, and can't control yourself at all. What we find is that people who are the most wicked and the most unjust, they try to justify it. They still try to portray themselves as being those who are merciful and they're doing the right thing, and they try to act as though their falsehood is correct and is true somehow. So for example, what comes to mind is a video I recently posted where I was talking about how killing innocent women and children, you would think that this is common sense that this sort of thing is wrong. You would think that. But you can tell that the guilty catch offense because, as uncontroversial as such a statement should be, you can tell that people, based on what's happening to the Palestinians and those who are enabling it and promoting it and trying to justify it, they want to make excuses for it. Because if they were to accept the reality for how horrific and evil this killing that's going on, this injustice that's happening truly is, they would have to be overcome with shame. If they have any sort of humanity in them, any sort of sensibility, they would be overcome with grief and shame and regret. But if they don't want to do that, they don't want to humble themselves and acknowledge that, then they have to puff up with pride and be arrogant and double down and try to somehow explain away why it's okay for them to support or do such wicked, inconceivable things. So, let's just take a second and look at some of these headlines on CNN. Now, because of the fact that the Palestinians in Gaza have been killed, displaced, the infrastructure of their society has been destroyed, and it's reaching a point where they really have been secluded with nowhere else to go. Now that it has reached a bitter end, people are starting to change their tune a little bit, right? Now we hear some of the people, some of the talking heads that facilitated and tried to justify the sort of behavior which many of us could see months ago that this is where things were heading. Now they're trying to downplay it or even outright, condemn Netanyahu and the things that they're doing and have done. Just look at this headline here. It says, deadly Israeli strike on Rafah was a tragic error, Netanyahu says. It was a tragic error. Can you believe the audacity of these people? I wonder how these Israelis would feel if something was published during World War II, where Hitler said, he had a lapse in judgment when he was sending Jews to the gas chambers. Would you all accept that? Would you believe that? Here we have global condemnation of deadly Israeli strike on Rafah mounts. And they have horrific video footage that I can't even bring myself to play right now. It's so horrific. But, regardless of the video footage that we've seen over the past several months, over the past several decades, honestly, the fact of the matter is, Allah knows everything that everyone has done, and a day is coming where everyone will be held accountable. There are those who sell the life of the hereafter, which is forever, which is eternal. They sell that for the fleeting life of this world. And vice versa, there are those who give up the life of this world for the pleasure of their Lord and the eternal hereafter. And that's what it's really all about. And that's why you can see the Palestinian people have such dignity, have such strength in the face of the atrocities that they have undergone. And that's why those who do have a heart and a conscience and some sort of ability to gauge truth has seen what's going on, and their hearts cry for the Palestinians. So we make dua for our brothers and sisters. We ask that Allah help them. We ask that Allah give us an opportunity to help them in any sort of capacity that we may be able to. And we ask Allah give all of us a good end in this life and success in the hereafter, because that's what matters. And may Allah guide these unjust people, these evil people, these evildoers. And if it is the will of Allah to not guide them, then we ask that Allah give them what they deserve. Allah knows best. Let me know what you think in the comments. JazakumAllahukhairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.